Okay, now let's start with our class. So let's look about the introduction of illumination engineering. So what is illumination engineering? See, study of illumination engineering, it is nothing but study of lighting phenomenon basically. So study of illumination engineering, it is essential to understand the basic principles of light control. Okay, so this is as it is applied to the interior lighting design such as domestic factory lighting, but also understand some outdoor applications, highway lighting, flood lighting, etc. See, modern day electricity has changed a lot, different aspects in our modern day life. So before electricity we had different kinds of lighting mechanisms, conventional lighting schemes, but then as electricity has taken its role in modern day life, okay, industrial revolution has picked up. Okay, then again, commercial utilities, that is your business utilities have risen to a peak. Then domestic lives have also changed. Okay, the way we look at our life has changed. Okay, so people work, earlier it was only 9 to 5. Now people don't bother about working hours. People work from 5 to 5 also in the evening. Okay, 5 in the evening till again 5 in the morning, or 6 in the evening till again 3 or 4 in the morning. Shift systems have come up. All this is because of lighting only. It has that is electricity only. So electricity based upon which we are depending our lighting sources only. So similarly, designing a particular civil structure is not essential. Okay, providing a perfect aesthetics to this particular civil structure is very essential. So aesthetics, they play an important role, okay, in a civil structure design. Okay, be it a bridge suspension or a regular bridge. Okay, be it an elevation, be it a architectural monument, be it a civil, any kind of domestic you know structure, commercial structure, industry, shipyards, dockyards, okay, manufacturing processes, everywhere lighting plays an important role. Okay, your football stadium, cricket stadium, highways, okay, roadways, all type of roadways, trains, okay, aeroplanes, everywhere lighting is plays, it's playing its important role. So nowadays electricity produced light, it is preferred to all the other sources of illumination because of some important aspect shown by this electrical lighting, that is cleanliness. Okay, it does not produce any smoke. Okay, no dust. Okay, it's easy to control, simple switch control is enough to control light, steady light output. It's low cost. Okay, it's cost effective solution. And most importantly, as the electricity production and electricity distribution, okay, is reliable, it's stable, we have more reliability on electricity rather than other conventional sources of lighting schemes. So the best illumination is that it produces no strain on the eyes. So illumination is that particular illumination which does not produce any strain on the eyes. So apart from its aesthetic and decorative aspects, good lighting has strictly utilitarian value in reducing the fatigue of the workers, protecting their health, and increasing production, which is very important for a country's economical growth. And this science of illumination engineering is therefore becoming a major important aspect, okay, in our day to day life, and especially for electrical engineers. Okay, study of illumination engineering is very essential. So this is put part of a elective subject, that is utilization of electrical energy as it is as a whole. So that is about the introduction to the topic. Let's talk about some basics, and let's move on to the important definitions of illumination engineering. So let's understand the light itself first. So what is light? Light is a form of electromagnetic energy radiated from a body, and human eye being capable of receiving it. Okay, so what is light? Basically it is electromagnetic energy. Okay, where this electromagnetic energy is coming from, it is coming from a luminous body, the body which is heated. If a body is heated, it is producing light. Simply how it is heated, when it is producing light, we will see. So light is a prime factor in human life, as all activities of human being ultimately depend upon this light only. So various forms of incandescent bodies, they are the sources of light, and light emitted by such bodies depends upon their body temperature. So usually a hot body, when it is red hot, okay, that is about 500 to 800 degrees centigrade, say, okay, it is not going to emit any light, but it is only going to radiate heat in the surroundings. Now when this body temperature is brought to 2500 to 3000 degrees centigrade, okay, the red hot nature is converted to white hot nature. Now apart from emitting heat, this body also emits light. So while the body is red hot, the wavelength of the radiated energy will be sufficiently large, but it will not be sufficiently large enough to radiate light, only radiate heat. When this radiant energy, it is coming in the temperature range of 2500 to 3000 degrees centigrade, it is capable of emitting light also other than heat. So further the temperature increases, body changes from red to heat, red hot to white hot, and heat along with it light is also emitted. So the wavelength of the radiated energy, it becomes smaller and it enters into the range of wavelength of light. What is the wavelength of light? 4000 to 7000 angstrom units, with the 1 angstrom unit being 10 power minus 10 millimeters. So light discriminates between different wavelengths in this range by the sensation of the color. The whole of the energy radiated out, it's not useful for illumination purpose. Okay, so the radiations of very short length varying between 0.00000156 into 10 power minus 6 meters to 0.001 into 10 power minus 6 meters, they are not in the visible range. They are called Rontgen rays, which is popularly known as X-rays. So they have the property of penetrating through opaque bodies. Okay, so X-rays are those rays where we take scanning of human body. Okay, you might be familiar. So our interest is 4000 to 7500 angstrom units. Okay, that is, you know 4000 to 7500 into 10 power minus 10 meters. Sorry, that's millimeters. It's not millimeters, it's meter. It's meters. It's wrongly printed. So furthermore, the temperature increases and the body temperature changes from, you know uh, red hot to white hot, and you are observing this illumination range. So the terms used in the illumination, first term we are going to use in the illumination, we are going to talk about in the illumination, is color. So you are observing 4000 to 7000 angstrom units. Okay, you are observing different color range: violet, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, and beyond 7000 you are also seeing infrared, and below this 4000 you will be seeing that X-rays. Okay, gamma rays, so on so forth. So our eyes can only recognize the light spectrum between 4000 to 7000 angstrom units. So we are seeing all the light patterns here: blue, violet, green, yellow, orange, red. So all these particular patterns, a mixture of these particular patterns within one to another range, it's going to result in your visible light spectrum. So you are able to identify the colors based upon this particular spectrum only. So the wavelength of visible light, it lies between 4000 to 7500 angstrom units. The second definition, second term is relative sensitivity. So what is relative sensitivity? So the reactive power of the human eye to the light waves of different wavelengths, it varies from person to person. Okay, see, it rises and it falls. our visible light is observing at 5500 angstrom units. So eye is most sensitive to this particular wavelength. So the average relative sensitivity you are observing in the figure. So on the y-axis you are observing the eye sensitivity ranging from 0 to 1, okay, on a scale of 1 with a wavelength 4000 to 7000 angstrom units, with our eye being sensitive, most sensitive to 5500 angstrom units. So how do you define relative sensitivity? It is that particular ability of the human eye which reacts to the light waves of different wavelengths, okay, at a visible light spectrum of 5000 angstrom units. So the relative sensitivity according to this particular wavelength, it is taken as unity. Blue and violet corresponding to the shorter wavelength, red to the long wavelengths. Okay, 4500, sorry, 4000, 4500 up till 5000, you are observing blue and violet light. So they are termed as short wavelength color spectrum. 7500, you are observing red, that is called wide or long wavelength color spectrum. Okay, so the color corresponding to 5500 angstrom unit is not suitable for most applications. So since it is yellowish green, okay, that which is visible to human eye. So the relative sensitivity at any particular wavelength lambda is, it is known as relative luminous factor. Okay, k lambda. If you are defining your wavelength as lambda, relative luminous factor, okay, it is given as k lambda. So this is relative sensitivity at any particular wavelength lambda. So with this definitions, let us understand what is light. So how do you define light? It is defined as that radiant energy from a hot body that produces visual sensation upon the human eye. So radiant energy emitting from a hot body, that which is producing visual sensation on our human eye, it is known as light. So light is expressed in lumen hours. It is analogous to watt hours. Okay, what is watt hours? The amount of energy consumption taking place in an hour. Okay, so the amount of light energy visible to human eye emitting from a hot body, white hot body. Okay, it is given as light expressed in lumen hours. Okay, here we need to understand the second term, that is luminous flux. So how do you define luminous flux? It is defined as the energy in the form of light waves radiated per second from a luminous body. So it is represented by a symbol phi. Okay, you are observing a flux diagram, power input given to a luminous source. Okay, the radiant flux that is coming out, it is given as luminous flux. So power lost as non-luminous flux, power lost by conduction, convection, radiation process, heat. So you must understand that light, it is not the only thing that you are observing. You are also observing heat along with the light that you are getting. So heat is some of the energy that is radiated in the form of convection, okay, or radiation. So apart from the power that is particularly lost, okay, you are observing other amount of power that is coming as radiant flux. Okay, so this is termed as a luminous flux. Okay, so suppose, let's see an example. Suppose if you are having a luminous body, okay, let's take the luminous body as an incandescent lamp. So the total electric power input to the lamp, it is not converted to luminous flux. Some of the power, it is lost through conduction, convection, radiation. A fraction of the remaining radiant flux in the form of light waves, it lies between the visual range of 4000 to 7000 angstrom units. 1 angstrom 10 power minus 10 meters. So this is what is defined as luminous flux. This is what we are interested in, and this is what we are observing as a visible light to our human eyes. Next, let us see the definition of radiant efficiency. Now, whenever an electric current is passed through a conductor, some heat is produced by I square R loss. Okay, this increases its temperature. Whose temperature? Conductor's temperature. At low temperature, conductor radiates energy in the form of heat. But at a very high temperatures, radiant energy, it will be in the form of light as well as heat waves, both. I've already made this point. So how do you define radiant efficiency then? It is defined as the ratio of energy radiated in the form of light to the total energy radiated by the body. So body, if it is having okay, two quantities, one heat and one light, so and if it is having energy radiated in the form of light taken in the numerator 1, so 1 is to 2, so that is the radiant efficiency of a source. If you have got four parts of a body emitting radiant efficiency, in which if you have got one part as light and three parts as heat, so how do you define? So 1 is to 3. Okay, total radiant energy by the body. Understand? So this is how you are supposed to understand it. Energy radiated in the form of light to energy radiated by the body. 1 is to 3. So how much is the radiant efficiency? 1 by 3, about 33%. Okay. There will not be usually 100% radiant efficiency observed, okay, in a radiating body. Usually you will, some of the energy it is lost in the form of, almost 50% will be lost in the form of heat energy. So luminous radiant efficiency, it lies anywhere between 30 to 50%, not 100, never 100%. That you need to keep in your mind. Next, we'll understand what is a plane angle. So plane angle is the angle subtended at a point in a plane by two converging lines. What are these converging lines? They are, your energy radiating light in the form of light from a luminous body. So you observe the definition of plane angle here. It is represented by Greek letter theta. So O, you are observing a figure there. In that, O is the source of light. There are two, rays coming out of this light, that is your light waves. So angle between these light waves, a plane angle, it is defined as, okay, it is given as the arc to radius ratio. So 1 radian, it is defined as angle subtended by an arc of a circle whose length is equal to the radius of the circle. So plane angle is that angle which you are defining between a set of luminous waves or luminous light radiation waves emitting out of a light source. Plane angle is equal to arc by radius. Okay. The semicircular part, it is defined as r. R is the radius of that particular light wave. So 1 radian is defined as angle subtended by an arc of a circle whose length is equal to the radius of the circle. So let's understand a solid angle. So solid angle is the angle subtended at a point in space by an area. So the angle enclosed in the volume. So this is as a complete. Okay. So there we have seen two particular rays only. Here multiple rays coming to form a sphere. Okay. So you are observing, okay, different waves coming, the dotted lines. So they are different amount of rays coming from a source O. So if you are combining them to form a conical structure, okay, so you can define the solid angle subtended by the amount of radiation coming out from a source of a body. So solid angle, it is the angle subtended at a point in a space by an area, that is angle enclosed in the volume formed by numerous lines. What are these numerous lines? They are light waves lying on the surface and meeting at a point. This is usually denoted by symbol omega. Okay, solid angle is equal to area by radius square. So if you are considering this as a conical sphere, so area of the sphere it is given by 4 pi r square and the radius square, that is r square. So pi r square by r square goes cancelled. So it is 4 pi steradians. So unit of solid angle is steradians. Unit of plane angle is radians. Okay, so solid angle is generally and it is most commonly defined as 4 pi steradians. Okay, given as area to radius square. Now there is a relation between plane angle and solid angle. We are going to see the relation. For that, let us consider a curved surface. As you are observing in the figure here, a spherical segment ABC, okay, of height h, you are observing h there, and the radius of the sphere r, you are observing r. The surface area of the curved surface, okay, of the spherical segment, it is given as 2 pi r h. Now we are seeing a sectional view of this particular solid angle. Okay, we have defined solid angle and plane angle. A sectional view we are observing. So in this there are 5 points marked totally: O, A, B, C and D. Okay, now from this we are considering a solid angle view. So we are defining a part here. We are defining BD, complete that particular space. Okay, so this is some relation between your solid angle and plane angle we are trying to deduce. So we are considering the section ABCD. Okay, totally in that particular section we are defining. So BD, it is given as OB, the complete length of your surface, that's the radius of your sphere, minus OD. Okay, up till which you are considering the relation or the difference between solid angle and the plane angle. So complete radius, I mean complete radius of that particular radiated wave, it is R. Okay, and OD, where is this OD? So this is right angles to your perpendicular drawn to your point A. Okay, that is the conical surface you are considering. So that is r minus r cos theta by 2. Okay, so if the total plane angle is theta, this is the plane angle definition we have already seen, arc to radius ratio. Okay, so this will be half of it, so that will be theta by 2. So you are getting r times 1 minus cos theta by 2 for the reason. So we are going to substitute this here in the surface area of the segment, that is 2 pi RH. So that will be 2 pi r into what, r times 1 minus cos theta. So that makes it 2 pi r square times r minus cos theta. Okay, so we have solid angle definition, area to radius square already. So that makes it 2 pi r square times 1 minus cos theta by 2 divided by r square. So r square gets cancelled. So solid angle definition you got here for this particular uh, conical surface considered, that is 2 pi times 1 minus cos theta by 2. So this is the relation between your solid angle and plane angle. So where is this solid angle? Solid angle is your 2 pi for half of it, and plane angle theta. So what you got, 2 pi times 1 minus cos theta. So solid angle given in terms of plane angle. Okay, plane angle you have cut down to 2 pi times 1 minus cos theta by 2, where theta is your plane angle. So solid angle is given as 2 pi times 1 minus cos theta by 2, cos of plane angle by 2. So this particular equation here, it shows the variation of solid angle with plane angle. Solid angle omega, plane angle theta, omega solid angle on the y-axis and plane angle theta on the x-axis. Okay, I am seeing a variation from 20 to 180 degrees maximum. Make a note of this figure. That's about it, and next class onwards we'll be talking about luminous intensity. We'll be seeing few more definitions. Okay, starting with luminous intensity.